So now we go into the next and more interesting and more practical aspect when it comes to consumer behavior one, that is to talk about the different utility functions. Okay, different utility functions and how do we solve for the optimal x and y in those terms. सबसे पहला utility function that we'll talk about is perfect substitutes. Okay, perfect substitute is a case where the two goods x and y are always substitutable for each other in a particular ratio. It can be the bread of modern bakery versus the bread of Britannia. Many things which are almost identical and different brands, like curd of Amul versus curd of Britannia. Okay, cheese of Amul versus cheese of Britannia. These are all perfect substitute examples wherein both of them are substitutable for each other in a particular ratio. Okay, now it can be in the ratio 1:1, then in that case the utility function is given like this. If it is not substitutable in a constant ratio of 1:1, you may write it as ax plus by, where it is substitutable in the ratio a:b. Okay, two different paracetamols, okay, P650 and Dolo 650. Okay, these are good examples. In the time of corona, everyone has now learned the name of Dolo. Okay, so these are all examples of perfect substitutes, right? तो perfect substitute को solve कैसे करेंगे? सबसे पहला है perfect substitute के case में we need to know how to draw the indifference curves. So if I have a ax plus by utility function, obviously in the xy plane, the indifference curves will be straight lines, right? Please see the indifference curve, which is dy by dx is equal to minus mux by muy. Okay, so these are basically straight lines like these. These are perfect substitute, all of them having a slope of minus a by b, absolute slope a by b. Okay, all right, this is how the indifference curves will look. Now obviously I have a budget line which is m is equal to xpx plus ypy. Okay, the budget line slope dy by dx is equal to minus px by py. Okay, so different cases will have different results. Now absolute value a by b greater than px by py, that is I have flatter budget line. Flat budget line like this, where px by py is lower than a by b, that will obviously mean that I have a flat budget line. Now given this flat budget line, you can see that given this budget line, the highest utility function or the highest indifference curve possible is at the x-intercept. So this is a situation where the consumer will consume only x. So if the slope of the budget line is lower than the slope of the indifference curve, I as a consumer will consume only x. Yes, it's very, very similar to linear programming. You must have done this a lot there. A by b less than px by py. Less than px by py will basically mean I have a very flat indifference curve when I compare it with the budget line. So if I have a steeper budget line than the indifference curve, the highest utility will be achievable when it is the y-intercept. So only y. Okay. This is quite easily understandable also in the way that if a by b is greater than px by py, it means that a, which is the coordinate of, or a, which is the coefficient of x, is much higher than the coefficient of y when we compare the prices. So x can more cheaply give me more utility than the y commodity. That is why a by b greater than px by py, x is the cheaper good giving me more utility in comparison to the y commodity. Here in this case, it is the opposite. X is the more expensive commodity giving me less utility than if I consume only y. Okay, so whenever a by b, which is the slope of the IC, greater than the slope of the budget line, only x, slope of IC less than the slope of the budget line, only y, when both the slopes are equal, then the consumer can basically consume anywhere. Supposing it is completely coinciding. It is completely coinciding with the indifference curve. I can basically consume anywhere on the budget line and it will give me the same utility. So in that case, the optimal is consume anywhere on the budget line. Okay. So this basically gives me a theory. Slope of IC greater than slope of budget line. Slope of IC greater than slope of budget line, only X. Comparing slopes. Slope of IC less than budget line, only Y. Slope of IC equal to budget line. Any point on budget line is optimal, because each and every point on the budget line is giving me the same utility, because each and every point on the budget line is the same indifference curve as well, right? So this is how we solve the case of perfect substitutes. ये सबसे पहला utility function type है perfect substitutes.